It's Sunday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for fantasy football. It's time for Browns talk. It's time for Best Bets. We have a jam-packed show. Buckle up, baby. Let's go. Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. The sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, everybody. Hey, week 11. It's go time. What's my shirt say? Browns against the world. Brother, let's do it. Let's do it. It's Browns-Steelers week, okay? The whole AFC North is turned upside down. Joe Burrow, out. Mark Andrews, leg snapped. He's gone. Deshaun Watson, out for the year. It comes down to attrition. The Steelers banged up too, linebacker core, but overall, you still got your quarterback. Think what you want about Kenny Pickett, but at least there's consistency. The Browns turn back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie. DTR, preseason darling. We all loved him. Then came week 3 in Baltimore. Not so much. In fairness, though, as we know by now, it was Deshaun Watson 90 minutes before the game, pulled himself out with the shoulder. DTR gets thrown in. I still don't blame the rookie for how that game went. Stefanski and the coaching staff failed DTR in that week 3 game. They ran the same offense that they would have run for Deshaun Watson against a great Baltimore defense, and he got punked 28-3. Well, now he says he's more confident. He's prepared. The coaching staff, they've tailored a game plan to him. This is still going to come down to, I think, the defenses, special teams, and probably who has the ball last, like probably a 13-10-ish type of game. But the AFC North title, staying in that hunt with the Ravens, with the Ratbirds, is still on the line. You win, you go to 7-3 if you're the Browns. Ravens have a tough schedule after that. If the Steelers pull it out, they're right on their way somehow. In a few minutes, we'll talk to my buddy Michael Sicoli, who is a Steelers fan, but also a terrific fantasy football mind. So we'll get to fantasy football talk. A lot of it. Get your questions in. Use hashtag AskAndy. Okay, get that in right now on social media at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMCSports, and on Instagram at AndyMCSports there as well, and Twitter at AndyMC81 at SickPodBrowns. So get that in. Hashtag AskAndy. We're going to pull it up. Jump in the chat room also, kids, okay? Jump on in there. Let's have some fun today. And then after that, it's going to be Joe Madden, who does a tremendous job with the Sports Grid for some betting talks. We're going to we'll have some danger zone picks. We'll get into some of the maybe value plays, get some picks and predictions. It's going to be a very fun show today. Now, for the Browns, before I bring Michael in, for the Browns today, DeJuan Jones is back, which is huge. I'm just going to pull up the page here right now. Yes, which is huge. So DeJuan Jones, right tackle back, because it is also, despite the game within the game is for Defensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt of the Steelers versus Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Okay? That's the kind of game within a game. Who can be more effective? Who can be the game record? TJ Watt, to his credit, he's had the Browns number and he's had the advantage in the head-to-head. He has. But this is a different Myles Garrett this year. It's different. He's not about the me guy. He's talking about the teams. He's getting into the mindset of it's about how the Browns do, not about how Myles Garrett does. And by doing that with this Jim Schwartz system, he's thriving. He's succeeding. He's having a great year. So this is going to be a huge game in that aspect too. Make sure as well you're jumping in the notifications. Click it, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll get ready for the show here. All right. For the Browns, like I said, DeJuan Jones in. Other than that, Jean Christian, who did a nice job at left tackle last week, filling in off the street pretty much. The difference being is that, remember, Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach, knew him from Washington, brought him in, knew the system. Honestly, what do you guys think? Like, I don't think he missed a beat. Like, I didn't. And for a backup offensive lineman, a third string, a desperation guy, Tim Harsh in the chat says, "What's up, Browns fan? Hey, brother. Welcome, welcome." Absolutely. You can jump in the chat, get your fantasy football betting questions in. Hashtag AskAndy. Joe Madden coming up. But let's get to some more Browns Steelers talk. And we'll dive into some fantasy football conversation too, some start sits I'll go through. We got a whole bunch of injury situation and guys who are game time decision that we will break through as well. But let's bring in Michael Sicoli, my guy. We are cornhole tournament partners at the Fantasy Football Expo. He's a Steelers. It shows Browns and Steelers fans can get along. He's a great fantasy football mind too. Michael, great to have you back on, buddy. How are you?
It's so good to be here, Andy. I'm wearing the shirt from that. I got the Hall of Fame shirt on. And, I felt inspired by you this morning. I logged on. I saw that Browns hat, and I had to rep on my own. I'm not a hat guy, but it's a bad hair morning, and honestly, Steelers hat can make it work. Ugly game we're going to be having later today.
Yeah. Oh, man. This has, Michael, doesn't this have 13-10 written all over it?
That's the exact score I would expect it to be completely honest, not to jump the gun or anything.
And you know what? For an AFC North division battle, two heated rivals, I think one thing we can both agree on is that at least one of our teams will be able to hopefully keep chase with the Ravens and beat those Ratbirds. Because Steelers hate the Ravens almost as much as the Browns, I think, right? That's got to be the top hate.
It's funny because that's how it obviously grew up being, but I've got to say, since your Myles Garrett guy took off that helmet, and ever since Vontaze Burfict took Antonio Brown out of the league, my hatred as a Steeler fan has run a little bit away from the Ravens and towards the rest of the division. But I know that's not historically right to say now,
right?
But listen, there's enough rivalry to go around the entire AFC North when it comes.
Of course, and it is the best division in football, or at least it was before Joe Burrow went out, as far as record-wise, toughness-wise, and all that. So the Ravens are out. They got Browning at quarterback. It's done. Okay, Bengals. It's over. So now it's very interesting, I think, how this game plays out, because you would think, Michael, it would have to be defense, special teams, and something. Despite me not thinking Kenny Pickett has any sort of long-term offensive talent, they keep winning. He doesn't turn the ball over. I think it comes down to very simple football. Whoever turns the ball over least is going to win this game with a field goal at the end.
That's typically what it comes down to in really close games, and that's what we expect this one to be. I'm going to focus on the run game here. I think that's really the deciding factor of how I look at the Browns every week, and somehow you guys keep on winning games. And it's somewhat similar to how the Steelers are. But listen, the Steelers are without too many injuries at linebacker right now. One of their linebackers currently was working at Amazon as of last week. Not even
serious?
Not a bit.
Really?
He was a package worker. And Cole Holcomb was lost for the season 2 weeks ago. Last week, obviously had the injury to Quan Alexander, tore his Achilles. So you're looking at a Landon Roberts, a mix of Michael Walker, who flamed out with the Falcons last year, and Mark Robinson and that package worker I was telling you about. That's literally the linebacker room against a very run-heavy Browns team. So it's tough to see this going well for either side, to be honest. But, man, it's a very interesting matchup in the trenches. But,
Michael, now that I've laughed, I guarantee you the Amazon guy is getting 3 sacks today.
For sure.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, on 3 snaps.
Is there on 3 snaps? If there's, I don't know if there's some an in-game bet you can make for how many sacks that guy's getting a triple for sure. Okay, that's just how it works. It won't be TJ Watt. TJ Watt will do nothing, and Package Man will get it. That's how it's going to go. Tim in the chat, Christian. So Jerron Christian, the left tackle the Browns brought off the street last week. He says Tim Harsh in the chat room here, and jump in, folks. Says had the highest PFF grade of any other offensive lineman for the Browns. That's pretty damn impressive. You're a off the street tackle, and you are up against the Baltimore Ravens, and you get that type of grade. So that's a great find for the Browns there. And I think it goes to your point on the running game. And Michael, if we take it to a fantasy football direction here, quarterbacks, I think we could agree we're going to probably stay away from. But running backs like Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, are you leaning more Jaylen Warren if you have to pick one for fantasy?
The Steelers' backfield is such an interesting situation because it was one I felt very confident about going into the year. And it was one of my more viral tweets was saying that I felt very confident that Najee Harris was going to keep this role. The starting role was never going to be Warren's. And I think last week that changed. I think last week was the difference of I think the Steelers are going to lead their way with Jaylen Warren this week. I think it's going to be a healthy mix of both. But if the Steelers fall behind early, we're not going to see Najee for most of this game. So
yeah.
I do think that if I'm picking between the two, I do want Jaylen Warren. He does look better. He's performed better. The analytics say he's better. The only question is will either of them get any success against that really strong Browns front? It's been a great defensive line all year, great defense in general. JOK has been a tackle for a loss machine.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say whether they're going to be able to get any success. And I hate to say it's going to come down to Kenny Pickett's arm, but it does feel like they are going to have to be able to pass to be able to set up the run, because if the Browns even halfway set up to stop the run, they're going to stop the run.
Right. And Denzel Ward is back in after that dirty hit by Ronnie Stanley, that rat from Baltimore. And he had a neck strain. He's fine. He's back in. For the Browns, hey, fantasy-wise, it's the rare case, Michael, where as long as Kareem Hunt keeps scoring touchdowns, 6 and 5 games, you can have him as a flex if you're going to risk and be comfortable with the TD dependent. And then Jerome Ford, maybe not getting the touchdowns, but this guy's clipping 100 yards. That's a decent fantasy day for an RB2.
Yeah, I think both are capable plays. I mean, it's week 11. We not only have a ton of injuries, we have a few bye weeks. I have leagues where I'm starting Kareem Hunt. I have other ones where I'm starting both Seattle running backs. It's tough out there for us in the fantasy space.
Yes.
Whether that's due to injuries or bye weeks, like I said. So you could definitely do worse than both the Browns running backs, because I do think that they're going to have at least one rushing score against the Steelers defense. It hasn't been perfect against the run all year. And again, the injuries to linebacker are certainly not going to help that. So I think I think Kareem Hunt's a good bet as any to get in the end zone, and Jerome Ford's going to get a lot of work. I'm expecting at least 14 to 16 carries.
Yeah. And we mentioned the tough defenses, the running game. And if you don't, and I think for both quarterbacks against these defenses, it would do them well not to be dropping back and looking for bombs downfield. What's a short passing quarterback's best friend? It can be the tight end. For the Steelers, Pat Freiermuth returns. That's great news for the fantasy football world, especially with Dallas Goedert going to be out for the Eagles this week. Freiermuth, are we expecting like he can be Kenny Pickett's best friend? Is he a plug-and-play fantasy player for you this week off of his hiatus?
Not quite. And listen, I love Pat Freiermuth. I think he's going to be an excellent player in this league. He just wasn't being used well early this year. I mean, one catch for 3 yards and score in week 1. We had one catch for 2 yards in week 2, which came against your Cleveland Browns. So this is a tough matchup. It's in most scoring formats, it is the hardest matchup for tight ends. I would try my best to avoid Pat Freiermuth if it is going to be quick passes, which I think you're right in saying so, to avoid that pass rush. I think it's going to be Deontay Johnson who gets a pretty solid PPR day, but the question always is with him is whether he'll have enough yards or touchdowns to make the catches worth it. So
right.
I'm fine playing Deontay. I'm fine doing it. I think he's a great player, and outside of last week, he's been terrific since returning from injury. But that risk does exist. I'm not trusting Freiermuth in this first game back as much as I like him as a talent.
Yeah. And that's the tough thing with the tight end spot, right? Like, Michael, really, you could be a TE1 a week in fantasy football this year, and you can get 8 points. That can get you that can technically be a TE1. You're not liking it, but that's kind of life. And I wonder too, from the Browns side going to the other side. So Freiermuth, David Njoku. I like the job Kevin Stefanski has done as a whole overall this year, but he does get a little pass happy. And he does. I think he gets a little carried away in game. If they're smart, to me, short over the middle, especially with the linebacker troubles you mentioned for the Steelers, DTR should be trying to dink and dunk his way to David Njoku all day. This on paper should be a massive touch day for David Njoku. I just don't know if it's going to be.
It's tough with David Njoku because every time you feel like you trust him, he feels he'll let you down. But I mean, you look at since the bye week, he has 4 or 5 games with 4+ receptions. That says, like you said, 8 points as a tight end 1 week. 4 receptions gets you halfway to 8 points right there.
Yeah.
Let alone tight end premium. So, yeah, I mean, he's as good a play as any at this point of the year. People are without, like you said, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, if they were trusting him. A lot of big tight ends going down. Travis Kelce obviously was on bye, going to be back this week. But yeah, I mean, the Steelers are in great matchup, but like you said, the injuries to linebacker should open some things up. I haven't checked. I don't know if we know if Minka is playing yet. I think that he is out. That is official. So
he is out.
Yeah. So full go, man. Full go for David Njoku. It's not great because we don't trust DRT yet, but the usage has been excellent. They found a way to use him. Like you said, he's a big body across the middle, and the Browns will have to complete some passes in this game. So
yes, exactly. So DRT, DTR, we got a whole bunch of initials here. In conversation, Michael Sicoli, IDP guys, phenomenal fantasy work. We'll get him to plug exactly where he is right now, what he's doing on Twitter at Michael _ Sicoli there. Let's get through some of these ins and outs for today. Justin Jefferson was not activated, remains on IR. Devin Achane in for the Miami Dolphins. Khalil Herbert in for the Chicago Bears. Devonta Foreman, questionable, banged up with the ankle. Now, Michael, I as a Khalil Herbert owner in 2 leagues, unfortunately, I have to say, like, my first thought was, oh, he's back. And then I looked at it the season before he went out. I'm like, oh, that wasn't that good when he was in. I don't know. Are we loving a start with Khalil Herbert today? Like,
I'm
like
not.
No.
Listen, I like Khalil Herbert. I think he's a solid player, and I think he showed that once they gave him the work this year, he was productive earlier, and especially for fantasy purposes, and that's what we care about.
Yeah.
But so was D'Onta Foreman over the last few weeks, and
better.
Despite us not totally knowing if he's playing, and obviously we do have a 1:00 kickoff, so we have some knowledge about that. Jeremy Fowler did report yesterday with ESPN that he is expected to play, so I would expect Foreman to be out there. And if Foreman is out there, I don't want Herbert in my line. So I do want to do my best to wait a week and see what happens here, because I don't think Foreman just disappears. He was inactive before the season, early in the year while Herbert was healthy, because they didn't have a use for him. If he's healthy and active in this one, they're going to use him because he has no usage on special teams. He's only active to touch the ball. That's why he wasn't active earlier in the year. So I do think that it's something that I want to be totally hands off of, especially in a tough matchup against Detroit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Alexander Madison, who was a big question mark all week. Ty Chandler was a hot waiver ad. Madison will play, had the concussion issues. And this is the case again where, like, I would love to see Chandler to get a full workload one game just to kind of really see what he is. But with Madison back in, Chandler's got to be back to the bench, right? Are you touching him?
No. I'm tentatively willing to play Madison just because Denver is the best matchup for running backs this year, which is still somewhat swayed by that Miami big weekend.
Right.
And Denver's defense has been significantly better over the last month and a half or so. So that is something to note. I'm not excited about playing Madison. I'm certainly not playing Ty Chandler. I really want nothing to do with the Minnesota rushing attack, which has been arguably, if not inarguably, the worst one in the league. So I'm not too excited about anything there, despite a good matchup. Willing to play Madison if the bye weeks are forcing me to, which in one league it certainly is. So yeah, it's not great.
We get a couple more fantasy notes here, Michael. Then we'll let you get on with your Sunday. Houston Texans, Noah Brown, red hot CJ Stroud connected with Brown, Dell. Noah Brown, again, another hot waiver wire ad, questionable for Sunday, knee injury, unlikely to play right now, but they will work him out pregame. So that always gives you pause, even if he does play. What does it do for that knee? I would think kind of either or if you're looking for a little stack. CJ Stroud, Tank Dell makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm willing to stack CJ Stroud with anybody at this point because he looks ridiculous. It's crazy. So fun. It's so much fun to watch him play. It's really awesome. But listen, Noah Brown has been really good the last few weeks, and he was good in Dallas when asked to step up in that auxiliary role. But you do have to factor in that Nico Collins was left the game 2 weeks ago. He missed last week, and now Nico Collins is back. And you have to wonder about a healthy receiving core. Where does Noah Brown fit in, even if he does suit up? You got Robert Woods back as well. He was missing time earlier this year in the middle section. So it's tough to trust them, but I'm willing to play CJ Stroud with anybody. If I'm picking, I want Nico Collins and I want Tank Dell.
Yeah. And on the running back side for Houston, Dameon Pierce out, just for people's notes. Not that you're super excited about Dameon Pierce either way, but that's for the info. Keenan Allen of the Chargers, who's been, what a resurgence. Like, Michael, he was down the trajectory, and then kablamo. He's listed as questionable shoulder injury, is expected to play against the Packers. Garrett Wilson, who you just want the man to have a good quarterback to throw in the ball. Oh, the poor guy. He's listed as questionable for Sunday versus the Bills, but they say he will play as well. Ty Lockett, questionable hammy injury, is expected to play, but will be a game time decision. So we have a lot of those kind of ifs and waiting and what ifs, and especially when you get those soft tissue ones. That's always concerning because, Michael, they start to play. You're one wrong plant and pivot away. You're out of the game.
Yeah, and we got plenty of examples of people that are either used as decoys and they don't do too much out there, or they go out there, play a couple snaps, they don't feel right, and they sit it out. And, you know, thankfully, a lot of these teams with these question marks are in, you know, playoff contention. They're big divisional games this week, like Garrett Wilson with the Bills. So I do expect Garrett to be out there, but it's always tricky with a 4 o'clock kickoff because you have to make those decisions at 1 o'clock. So you just gotta weigh your risk here. You know, if you want to pick up Allen Lazard or something like that, you could as a possible backup. It's not great, but you have a 4 o'clock fill-in if Garrett Wilson went out. So I would expect him to be there, but it's always smart to just have that backup plan with any late kickoff compared to the early slate.
Yeah, and the ceiling, of course, of any receiver on that Jets team is squashed. You're bumping your head on it with Zach Wilson under there. Tim in the chat saying, I love what CJ Stroud has been able to do. Yeah, like what a story. A must start. Like it's wild to see how good CJ Stroud has done. Michael, before we let you go, is there any other must start fantasy hot tip play that you like this week? And then I'll be on your show tonight at 7:30 Eastern, I believe.
Yes, sir. The Dynasty After Party with Club Fantasy. It'll be a blast. But if I'm picking a must play, I'll stick with the Jets, and certainly not a receiver, and it's certainly not Zach Wilson. Breece Hall. Listen, Breece Hall has been disappointing since, like, he's been good, but he's been disappointing since we've had that big game against Denver, like everyone has, and a big game against Philadelphia. But it hasn't quite been there. And I do think he's going to get back on track against the Bills this week. He is a fantastic talent. He's got 16 touches in each of his last 5 games. It's all that workload you want, and you're just waiting for the efficiency to come. I do think he comes in a ground-and-pound game against the Bills this week. So love Breece Hall. You're playing him anyway, but I do like him quite a bit.
I dig it, man. All right, and tell people where they can find your work. We have the show tonight, but you're everywhere, man. Yeah, man. Listen, things have changed over the life of Michael Sicoli this season. So, you know, normally I do hope you guys all follow me at Michael__Sicoli, like Andy said before, the double underscore there. But since I've taken on a bit of a new job with sports reporting with Newsday over on Long Island, that I have not been able to put as much of my fancy content out there as usual. But I do run the IDP Guys socials. So if you follow at IDP Guys, you'll basically see my content one way or another. So, yeah, thank you, Andy, for having me on. This was a blast, as always, and I look forward to talking to you later. Absolutely, buddy. Well, we'll talk to you later on tonight and have you on again soon on this show. Good stuff, buddy. Talk to you later. Yes, sir. Go Steelers. Go. Oh, he left with the Go Steel. What a lousy Sicoli. Got me again. Go Browns. Go Browns. That's what we have. No Go Steelers on this program. Love Michael at Michael_Sicoli. Joe Madden coming up in a few minutes. But folks, hey, remember, it's Sunday, right? And that means NFL, and that means betting. And can you believe? I can't believe that we're this deep into the NFL season, week 11 already. We got to make every second count with DraftKings Sportsbook. You can make the most out of every game day. Bet on your favorite teams for a shot at winning some big dollar bills. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting $5 on any matchup. Bet 5, get $150. Math makes sense to me. I'm not good at math. That makes a lot of sense to me. And you can do that with, of course, you see right on the screen, code SICSports. So you get the $150. Now there's $150, but there's also $200 if you use SICSports. Okay, so you use SICSports, might as well get the extra $50. Pop on there. SICSports is the code. Get in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook, official betting partner of the NFL. Download the app now and use that code SICSports, all one word, to get those bonus bets. Only on the DraftKings Sportsbook with code SICSports. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's get into a little more fantasy football news and notes as we roll here. Hey, here we go, Brownies. Grant's in the house. Hey, brother. Grant, we had our guy, Michael Sicoli. I don't know if you saw him on there from the Fantasy Football Expo. We all met up, had some delicious bourbon at the speakeasy Grant introduced us to in Canton, Ohio. Absolutely loved it. Oh, what was it called? Oh, Grant, if you can pop the name in the chat. It was beautiful. You know what? Don't pop the name in the chat. I don't want people knowing about it. It was a great bourbon and tremendous. Great guys at the Fantasy Football Expo. There we go. Caught the very end. Yeah, there we are. So Grant's in the house. He was on a couple weeks ago reporting live at the scene. Now, Browns weather game today. Rays on court. That's it. That was the bourbon place. Rays on court. Beautiful spot. Anyway, looks like the weather's going to be just fine for the Browns game. Sunny, cool, crisp day. Looks good. There are some weather issues, though. When you look at Buffalo Jets, it's supposed to be weather, some mixed rain and snow, cold, bad weather in Kansas City Monday. So we're in that time of year where we have to start paying attention to the weather when it comes to fantasy football and betting impact there. Tim's saying, love the content. Got to have more. There we go, brother. Yes, Tim, share it with your friends. Absolutely. Click subscribe. If you could, click subscribe. We'd love to have you be notified of the channel. Click subscribe, share the link, click like, all that good stuff helps. Also, you can find some fun merchandise of the show, some great fantasy football merch and Browns merchandise right in the show description underneath. You click on there, you're taken care of. So let's take a look at a couple more of the fantasy football. I mentioned Tyler Lockett out there. Let me just make sure news and notes. Looks like the Jets are going to try to make another run for Davante Adams in the offseason. Those are some notes. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Other than that, as far as injuries, looks like we're pretty clean. Otherwise, other than the ones that we mentioned, bye weeks, of course, Falcons, Colts, Patriots, Saints. So not too bad when it comes to missing players on buys. This is what's going to be interesting to me. There are some huge spreads, and we'll talk to Joe Madden about that in a few minutes time. So we'll get to the betting side. But there are a few things that that trip me up a little bit. Bills at home to the Jets. Bills favored by 7.5. Now, if you're the Bills, this is a transition day, right? You got rid of the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey gone. You got Joe Brady in. So are they going to win by that much? How does it affect? Does the game plan switch? Does it affect anybody on the Bills fantasy-wise? I don't really think so. I think for the Bills, you're kind of just, unless there's something dramatic, and I don't think you're going to see that. Despite the struggles, you're still going with Josh Allen. What are you going to do? Not go Josh Allen? What are you going to do? You going to go Zach Wilson? No. You get your Diggs, your Cook, your Allen, maybe Kincaid, and you're on your way. Right? The other one, here's the spread that really jumps out to me. Let me know what you guys think of this. 49ers, 13.5-point favorites against the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield going in to face San Francisco and Bosa. And if we all remember, Baker, when he was a Brown, played Bosa. And, Mr. Bosa didn't like, an Ohio State alumni didn't like when Baker was a part of Oklahoma. Remember, planted the flag? And Bosa went wild, sacked Baker a bunch of times, and did the fake flag plant himself. So I'm sure there's still some hostilities there. The 49ers, you're going to beat the Bucs by 2 touchdowns? I know they came back. I know they put their presence on Jacksonville. But are we really feeling that good that they're going to put that much work on the Buccaneers? I don't know. As long as they don't get to Baker too much, I still feel fine playing Godwin and Evans on my fantasy lineup, right? I just think that's a bit much. And maybe if it is, maybe it is some garbage time opportunity for us, right? That could be it. Before we get Joe in, let's do some Ask Andy. Let's get some of the fantasy questions up here. There we go. Okay. From @thatxruingereth. It is #Ask Andy. I have to start 2 of the following PPR league. Garrett Wilson, Tank Dell, or Devonta Smith. Who do I bench? Ooh, well, we're playing Tank Dell for sure because Noah Brown's probably out. And even if he plays, not great. Devonta Smith, guys, even though it's Monday night, the weather, he's just been underwhelming for most of the year. With the expectations after all that volume last season, fantasy-wise hasn't really lived up to it. But then again, we got Garrett Wilson, and it's Zach Wilson. But the Bills are missing a bunch on defense. I think you got to sit Devonta Smith. I think that's where you go. What do you guys think? Devonta Smith? Already subscribed. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for subscribing, brother. Appreciate it. I'm going to say, yeah, you sit Devonta Smith just because if we're looking at the matchup, it's against the Chiefs, and he just had I need to see a bit of a run for Devonta Smith to get my confidence back in. Let's just take a little look-see here. And old Devonta Smith. Yeah, we see fantasy point-wise. Before the bye, 2 weeks before the bye looked good, but you're playing KC. I think Wilson's been, even with the cap of Zach Wilson, he's been a bit more consistent. So I would say it's close, but I would say Garrett Wilson. Let's pull up another one. Another tweet. #Ask Andy. Got from at Nedzy. Hey, Andy MC81. Hello. Who should I go with? Herbert or Goff? Appreciate your help. Hashtag Ask Andy. All right. I think, first of all, you're in a good spot either way. So let's look at the matchup. Because Goff, as usual, has been underrated. So we got the Chargers against Green Bay. That's in Lambeau. So traveling from, it's okay. And then Detroit against the Bears. The Lions favored by 7.5. I feel you lean Goff a little bit here. Okay, just a bit. I like both. I like both. Now we're just going to take a look at the most recent games and fantasy production for these teams. So Justin Herbert, last 4 games. In Kansas City, 12.86 fantasy points. No good. Next game against Chicago, 24 points. Great. Then you play the Jets, 7. No good. Then you play Detroit, 29.42. 4 touchdowns for Justin Herbert. That's great. Now you're playing the Packers. Okay. So now let's compare that to let's apply that to the Lions. Who do we got? Yeah. All right. To Goff. And we'll take a look. Let's see. So let's go the last 4 games. Week 5, 27.44 against Carolina. Whoo, looking good. Oh, that's way back. Okay. Then week 6, 22 points. Yes. Against Baltimore, 10 points. Yeah, against Baltimore. Then 13 points against Vegas. No good. Bye week. Then last week, 21 against the Chargers. Now you play Chicago. That's why I feel a bit of a lean to Goff. There's always that risk. The upside isn't as much there as a Herbert just because of arm talent. But Keenan Allen is going to play for the Chargers, so he should be good. I would just lean Goff a little bit. Again, I think you're a little safer with Goff, but a little bit there. We'll keep the fantasy football questions coming. Use hashtag Ask Andy. Is Goff playing at home? Grant saying yes, Grant. Yes, he is at home against the Bears. Against the Bears. And Justin Fields is back. I wouldn't play Justin Fields. I do like DJ Moore. I think you go DJ Moore. Tim saying start Goff. Yeah, I'm leaning a bit of Goff. Yeah, Detroit's at home. Yeah. And you can jump in the chat, social media, give us a follow at AndyMC81 at SickPodBrowns. There she is. She is on the line. Let's bring her in. It is Jo Madden from Sports Grid TV. She's getting up early with us all the way out in Calgary. Jo, welcome. Great to have you back. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful Sunday. I could not sleep last night. I was on air till midnight Eastern, and then I was up until 3 o'clock my time, so that's 5 a.m. Eastern. I was so excited for today's slate, so excited for the games kicking off on the ice, and so excited to be here. So thank you for having me. Oh,
absolutely. And hey, it's been too long. Team Jandy, we hashtagged it last time, Jo. It's back. We're back. You can't keep us down.
No, we can't. I think everyone should be hashtagging that every time we are in a room together or on a show together. So
absolutely.
It's awesome. I love it.
Well, I love that you're up early, you're pumped, you're ready to go. Big slate of games, as we said. And let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of these bigger spreads today, because I think there's some money to be made on a few of these. So let's look at a few of the bigger ones. The biggest one that jumps out to me, and not that I don't think the 49ers will win this game, but 13.5 against the Buccaneers. Jo, that seems like a bit of a trap to me. Are you buying that?
It sounds like a trap, but the 49ers are one of those favorites where it's hard not to get behind this team, right? You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do we even know if Baker Mayfield's a go for sure? I know that questionable with his thumb. I was going to check that injury report on him this morning. I just look at this 49ers team, and I said it before, and Vikings fans can scream at me because I said it on that loss, that they played the Vikings, and that's where they started that downward spiral before the bye. Yeah. But they're such a complete team. It's really hard to go against them and what we're seeing. And Brock Purdy isn't Mr. Irrelevant anymore. We've seen what we saw out of him, and I was wrong. I really did think they should start Sam Darnold and not Brock Purdy this season, but he's come out and he's showed what he can do, and I think he can thread the needle, and I think he'll get the ball down the field on the defense here of the Bucs. So this one is a scary one for me. Looking at their team total, 26.5, their look-ahead situation with games short week, I don't know. It's hard, but I would take the 49ers.
And I'm looking, Baker Mayfield is cleared to play. So the thumb, he was taken off the injury report. So he is in Fantasy-wise, Joe, just to look at it from that perspective, like Baker from week 7 on has been real good fantasy-wise, but I always harken back to that Bosa game I mentioned earlier when he was with the Browns. And Bosa does not like Baker Mayfield, the way he did at Ohio State. They planted the flag. Bosa sacked him and planted the fake flag there. So I think it could be a long day. So are you saying you're comfortable taking the 49ers to cover the 13.5?
I'm saying that? I don't like this game. I don't want to bet it, but if I had to.
I don't want to either.
I know. If I had to, it would be the 49ers. I can't get there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's just not a team that I've had faith in this season. I think the team total is really interesting for the 49ers. That's sitting around 26.5 at -118 right now to that over. It killed me the last time I took their team total because they just came under that. But we know this is a team that can move the chains and they can get those points on the board. I look at Christian McCaffrey for the anytime touchdown as well, because we saw him after not being able to get that touchdown in the last game, what he said about himself. So I think it's a great one. Yeah,
the anytime touchdown with McCaffrey. I'm totally with you. Now, another big spread, double digit. This one I feel more confident in, Joe. Dallas Cowboys on the road to face the 1-8 Panthers. Dallas 10.5-point favorites. Over under set at 42.5. Unless Dallas just takes the brakes off, like I just really don't see how they lose this game. And I think that 10.5, I might be buying points on that. I don't know.
Give me the big loss for the Dallas Cowboys here, Andy. I am just completely against this one.
Wow, I love it.
I don't think the Cowboys have a 1 p.m. Eastern game circled when they've got Thanksgiving matchup versus the Washington Commanders against a 1-8 Panthers team. I think they come in, they overlook this team. Frank Wright back making the calls. Bryce Young, this kid has so much talent. They're not able to get things together. I think the Dallas Cowboys overhyped and they're in a trap spot. I think this is a trap game of the day. They're off that huge win over the Giants where they steamrolled, and they're so trendy and they're so public. Everyone thinking this team is unstoppable out there between Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And they're right. That last game was absolutely fantastic, but I'm not buying in to the Cowboys in this one. I think it's a look ahead. So I'm going to take the plus 10.5 or whatever that spread is, but I'm also putting some money on the money line for Carolina.
On the money, I got to see what the money line on that game is, because that's got to be spiked. That is an early danger zone pick from Joe Madden, folks. That's why hashtag Team Jandy. That's why that is spicy. That is I'm sweating from that one. That's a big one there. Let's see the money line on that one here. Cowboys. Let's see the money line. Oh, Joe, plus 440. Panthers straight up win. All right, worth a few bucks, right?
It is. It definitely is. With all the value there, 1-8 on the season. This team, they get this win here. And this is where we see the huge upsets. It's when teams have the look-ahead situations. Of those huge games.
You're right.
So there's value. And it's Bryce Young and Frank Wright can get things kind of clicking a little bit out there. And I know it's the Cowboys. I know how strong they are. So it's not me coming here saying the Cowboys are a terrible team. They're going to lose to the Panthers. It's the Cowboys. Right. Are overlooking the Panthers, I think.
Yeah, you got the reasoning behind it. Wow, love it. Okay, the next one has a big spread. Washington Commanders at home against the Giants. Commanders 9.5-point favorites. Over under at 37.5. And Joe, I got to say this: with my mind going to the fantasy football side, Commanders seem fearless. Like Sam Howell, they throw the ball more than I think anybody, almost in the NFL, if not the most. I just think this should be a shred 'em up game against the Giants. It is a division opponent, which always gives you a little pause. But how do you feel about this one? 9.5 Washington against the Giants, who just seem like, man, you got the most entertaining thing about that team is Tommy DeVito's family in the crowd. That's it.
Well, I'm glad Mommy's there because he is going to need her support in this game. I tell you, Andy, it's either going to be a great day for me betting wise, or someone needs to check on me come that night game tonight, because I am going to be in a puddle in the corner. I do think this is another look-ahead spot. I can't get past the fact the Washington Commanders play that Dallas Cowboys team on a deck. And then we have the New York Giants off an embarrassing loss to the Dallas Cowboys. So these teams all circle around each other. Do the Commanders want to beat the Giants by 20? Absolutely. Will they beat the Giants by double digits in this one? I don't think so. I think the Giants plus the points is where I want to lay. And when I'm looking at a dog like this, I can't turn down that sprinkle on the money line, only for a couple bucks. And I'll probably parlay all of these dogs on the money line as well, hoping it's like a jackpot parlay there. If it hits, if we have upset central today and that hits, well, check on me as well, because I'll be in the corner partying. But
Joe is going to be wearing an outfit made of pure gold next time on the show with a crown.
If it hits. Yeah. But it's really hard to back the Giants here. And this is one of those underdogs. It's ugly. I love the Washington Commanders. I love what we're seeing out of Sam Howell. But you look at what they did with the defense. They sold off their best pass rushers. Chase Young gone to the 49ers, which is a huge pickup for the 49ers. Montez Sweat gone. So I look at the Giants, and they haven't had success offensively. But can all of a sudden Tommy DeVito come out here and get the ball moving? There's not enough film on him for teams to really plan. And that's where we see these young rookies have success, when the film isn't out. It's like Zach Wilson when he came out in week 1 when Aaron Rodgers went out. Well, how did they get that win? Yep. More so, well, the defense, but also there was no planning for Zach Wilson. In that part, they had to scramble. So Tommy DeVito, while they've seen a little bit of him, they haven't seen greatness out of him. If we can just see the tiniest bit of greatness, I think the Giants can keep this one tight.
And let's not forget the Giants' last win against Washington, 14-7. That one was at home. That was a month ago, so things have changed. But the last win was against Washington, so it's not like we're in unprecedented territory this week. Interesting, man. You know what? Okay, guys, let's join Joe and do the that underdog parlay. You got me excited about that one, Joe.
Right. And even if you combine like a couple of them, just like take 2 dogs and 2 dogs here, 2 dogs there, and
a little sprinkle.
A little sprinkle.
Right? The salt guy. Who was the salt guy, right? He did the
yeah, exactly. Sprinkle that salt.
Yeah, sprinkle that.
A little bit of magic. We need some magic on this beautiful Sunday.
That's right. Okay. Hey, you know what? Let's get to some Danger Zone picks here, Joe. Let's go. Danger Zone. Let's do it. All right, my Danger Zone pick, I'm looking at, and you know what? It's sort of in the same vein idea that you're talking about with some of those other games. This is either going to be a statement game by the Buffalo Bills hosting the New York Jets, or this season is gone. You fired the offensive coordinator. You got Joe Brady in. Is Josh Allen due for a big comeback? Or those sneaky Jets, those New York Jets who, like you said, came in, beat the Bills in the shocker week 1. The Bills, 7.5-point favorites. So I think this is a spot where my Danger Zone pick is Jets to cover, Jets to win, and I'm going. There is a in-game parlay on the Bills one, and it was for the Jets to win. It was over 14.5 points and over 1.5 touchdowns plays plus 330. So I'm going all that with the Jets. I'm going all Jets today.
I need to bet that. You need to tell me exactly how to bet that one again, because you had me at plus 330 right
yes,
there.
Right?
I love the Jets today. I absolutely do. I can't put my money. Josh Allen cost me so much in the last game, and I look at all the games that he's cost me money, and the 12-man on the field and the firing.
Oh.
This is just not a team I can back. And you want me to lay over a touchdown with them here for this automatic bounce back here? And there is a revenge factor, but I can't trust Josh Allen. He throws that ball 5 million miles an hour down the field. His wide receivers can't catch it because he's throwing it so hard. He doesn't know how to throw it a little bit lighter. You're not seeing that. They're not running the ball. Why the hell, Andy, are they not running the ball? We saw on that last game, as soon as they started running the ball with James Cook, they were able to move the chains.
Yeah,
why
it's baffling.
Continue to play that style of game instead of getting Josh Allen to throw these picks left, right, and center? I was so livid in that game. I can't back this team ever again. And then I look at the Jets and I look at what their defense is able to do with Sauce and DJ Reed, and I love the talent of those 2 cornerbacks. And I do think this is going to be a day where they're able to get those picks in this game. And pick sixes for these defense, and that defensive line breaking through the offensive line of the Bills and getting to Josh Allen. I think the Jets have it all day long.
Yeah, and if they do get up, then you got a big fantasy day out of Breece Hall too. You work that in as well. Here's the exact in-game parlay here for you, Joe, that plays. I was mistaken. Plus 360 on this. Okay. Woo-hoo. Jets money line.
Yeah.
Over 14.5 total team points for the Jets. Over 1.5 total touchdowns by the Jets. That seems pretty reasonable. Like, I can see that today.
That's easy. That's done.
Right?
We're cashing.
We're cashing, baby. Let's go. I think that's, especially with how we laid it out, I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So we got that. What's your danger zone pick? What do you like? You've already given enough danger ones. I don't know if you can get any more dangerous than you've done already.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get any more dangerous. The Sunday night football game, though, Denver Broncos. I tell you, Sean Payton has Russell Wilson cooking. You realized how many touchdowns he has on the season? 18. Russell Wilson is sneakily getting better week in and week out. Sean Payton really turning around this team. I think they steamroll in this game. I could see the Denver Broncos winning this one by a touchdown over the Minnesota Vikings. I do think Josh Dobbs is in for some regression. And the way Sean Payton has this team completely on track with that win over Buffalo, they tried to give that game away to Buffalo as well. And Buffalo just wasn't biting. They did not want that win. They were terrified to get that win. But I do think Sean Payton has this team at the best that this team is going to be all season. I think this is the point where we have to start backing Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, and the Denver Broncos. And you know I'm a Chargers fan, so that completely pains me to say. And I didn't think I would get behind this team this season. I really didn't think Russell Wilson would be able to be, I think he's about 80%, 75% maybe of the Russell Wilson from Seattle. I didn't think Sean Payton would be able to get him back there, but he's back
Especially
there.
That start to the year.
Yeah.
Right? Like it looked like there was no bigger looking fool in the NFL than Sean Payton through the first couple of weeks of the season, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it was bad. It was bad. I was like, I felt for him. I really did, because it's like he says those things about Hackett and then comes out and it's like, wow.
Then they lose.
Oh, you're the problem now, right?
Yes, exactly. And so, no, I like that. And your Chargers playing today too. Joe, where can people find you? You do such great work all over social media. I love watching your stuff and love having you back on. So where can people find you?
Are you making me leave already? We didn't get to talk about the Miami Dolphins and the
Raiders.
Let's
stay. I didn't want to keep you too long. Stay. Come on. Yeah. Wow. We're cooking with you.
I thought
Absolutely.
We were too dandy.
Absolutely.
Hi, girl. Bye,
hey.
girl.
No. I'll have you all day. That's great.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
No. You know what? The other big game with the spread, you're right. The 14 Miami Dolphin point favorite at home over the Raiders. That's one, like, Joe, this is where, okay, we have the Alec Pierce story. Yeah. It's nice. You know, McDaniels is out, the mean old guy. You got the cool supply teacher. He's fun. He's letting you play music. Put your headphones in during your math test. Does that stop today? Does that stop today in Miami?
It totally stops in Miami. And can we fire up the line for the Miami Dolphins? This is what I wanted to hear with you, because I think we can. I think this is another embarrassment that Miami's offense puts on the Raiders, like we saw them do to Denver, where they won that one, 70-20? What was that?
Yes.
Could we see
it was like the second 70-point game in like NFL history or something. Yeah.
And that could happen here again. Miami at home, Tua at home, this team off a bye. Absolutely. Lights out. And the Raiders are riding high. And I love that you said, they're in party mode. They're absolutely in party mode. They live in Vegas. Well, they're traveling to Miami. You know how hard it is for teams to go to Miami. Talking to ex-players, it's not because of the heat in Miami. It's because of the party life in Miami. This team is rolling hot. They're all excited for life. They're smoking cigars in the locker room. When did they get into Miami? Because I tell you, if it was last night, some of those boys went out. Some of those boys were partying.
South Beach flu. Isn't that what it is? The Miami flu, South Beach flu, whatever?
Yeah, it is. They're excited to be in Miami. And it's a great story. And I love what we're seeing. And no disrespect to the Raiders. I love Max Crosby. He's definitely on my top favorite player out there on the defensive side of the ball. But I just think it's Miami Dolphins. With Tua, this team is going to run up the score and they're not going to stop. No,
and we know with this season, now if Miami was playing a team above 500, different story, but under 500, unstoppable. And that score you're talking about was week 3, 70-20 over the Broncos. And I love that you brought that up, because this kind of gives that feeling. And because, Joe, just when we think, that's what I love about the NFL, and maybe more so this season, it's like just when you think you have something figured out, you're like, all right, I got this. They change it. And just when people are like, the Raiders, could this be the future? Could that? I think it's SmackDown time in South Beach.
There's always a gut punch, right? I love the
Always.
SmackDown time in South
Yeah.
Beach. It is perfect. So I'm going to extend this one. I'm going to take it what it is at, laying those points, but I think they could win this by 3 touchdowns. So I think I'll take that spread up to, 18.5 or 19.
18, fearless. I love it. Hashtag Team Jandy. 18 points. Okay, you guys jumping in? Let's. You know what, Joe? We're gonna have to get I'm gonna go back and we'll recap all the picks and parlays before kickoff today, because I think we put this wild parlay together. Maybe we'll both be wearing gold. I'll have a gold brown shirt on next week.
Right? Because there's going to be some huge wins. There's going to be some underdogs. And, even if we go 2 and 3 and we're on those dogs on the money line, it's going to be a money day.
It is. Absolutely. And let's finish off with this one. We got Monday Night Football. Now, the Taylor Swift factor, I think despite the weather, the parents are supposed to meet in Kansas City. I think she is. I believe she canceled maybe the concert last night, or at some spot she should be there. But we got Chiefs, Eagles, and then the Taylor Swift and the parents meeting the Kelsey's underlying storyline. I don't know if there's any odds on the Kelsey parents, one not liking the other, but the game itself should be pretty good.
I feel like there's going to be a breakout wedding at halftime. All of a sudden, her music's going to start playing. She's going to come out, and there's going to be a wedding in this game. You
imagine?
I tell you, I know all of the trends, why you should bet the Kansas City Chiefs. It makes 100% of sense if you listen to all of the narrative. The Swift family, Andy Reid off a bye, Patrick Mahomes at home as a 3-point or less favorite. Everything makes sense to bet the Chiefs. Andy, I'm crazy this week. It's the Eagles on the money line. I think they're the more complete team. They grind down teams. Wow. I can't get behind the Chiefs. I think the Eagles are the better team. You look at the Chiefs, especially in the second half, and how that offense struggles in the second half as soon as they get off the scripted plays by Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
And they absolutely fall on their face. So if you like the Kansas City Chiefs, I think it's a first half bet for the Kansas City Chiefs, that excitement, the momentum with them. And then the grind game from Hurts and the Eagles, and they ultimately win this one at the end.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert won't play for you fantasy football players, so make sure you're keeping an eye on that. Right now we got plus 124 for the Eagles to win straight up in the money line. I like what you're saying, the first half Kansas City bet. So maybe, first half Kansas City, overall game Philly. Let's see, too, if they got any of those in-game parlays that interest us today, Joe. Let's see. Okay, here's a plus 415. Let's see if this interests us. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown score. I like it.
I like it.
Plus over 84.5 A.J. Brown receiving yards, and then over 6.5 A.J. Brown receptions. That's plus 415. You go?
I like it. I do.
Yeah.
I like it. Everyone keeps talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and how strong their defense is. And the defense is strong, but they let up some big plays. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, and it's Hurts, and Hurts can get that ball just flying. So I think it's a great parlay there. I love it.
And the weather we're seeing, it's 48 degrees, looks overcast. I don't see any precipitation right now, but it is Monday, so that's something to keep an eye on there. Here's one more for you. Okay, if you want to get really nuts. Plus 625. Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. We know we like that. DeAndre Swift, 58.5 rushing yards, and AJ Brown over 84.5 receiving yards for plus 625. Swift's had a nice year, but you always have to mix in the Jalen Hurts. But if it's cold and if the weather is a bit of an issue, it just takes a couple A.J. Brown receiving yards. We don't have to worry about the receptions in that one, just yards. You can break one. And then Swift, 58.5. That's not nuts. He's done that.
No, it's not nuts.
Plus
and who is going to want this win more than anyone else on the field?
Yeah.
Who do you think? Who do you think the last time these teams played got hurt the most?
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts wants it, obviously, right?
Yeah, but Jason Kelsey, he saw his brother get the ring the last time. Mama went and hugged his brother before him.
Yes, that's right.
That mama factor.
That mama factor with the Kelseys, the parents, just whirlwind of emotions in Kansas City.
I like Jason Kelsey better too. Way better than Travis Kelsey.
That's right, Kelsey. Yeah, I just can't wait for the Taylor Swift breakup song. It's going to go number one when they break up at some point.
Have you seen his wing commercial though, Jason Kelsey? It's hilarious.
No, I saw the commercial. Really?
He just basically sits there and eats wings and tells you they're the best wings in the world. It's awesome.
The world is at his fingertips. His social media is up like 800%.
Yeah, he's so likable too, right? He was actually voted, I saw, one of the sexiest men alive. I
saw that. Now, to me, yeah, I can recognize a handsome man as much as the next fella, Joe. But I was like, that's, fun guy to be around, want to hang out. Sexiest man alive, maybe a stretch. Maybe.
A stretch. I'm going to pump the brakes. But I think it's that personality. Everyone says the funny guy doesn't win, but the funny guy really does win. At the end of the day, a girl just wants to laugh.
Just want to laugh.
True, Andy.
And have a big bear hug from a burly lineman, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right? It likes to eat wings and watch football. So
come on. We're having a good time with Jason Kelce.
Yeah. How can you not like him? I think he's in for a huge day. I really do. I think that defensive line gets to Patrick Mahomes, forces those interceptions.
That's going to be a fun game. We'll keep an eye on the weather as well. Over one last one for you here, Joe. Over under 45.5. This is one I might wait a little bit to see the weather factor. I hope just for entertainment's sake it's the over. But right now I'd say we probably take the over if it's just going to be cold but not wet, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's a hard one to that over and under because we know the Kansas City Chiefs can put up the points. We know the Eagles can put up the points.
Yeah.
But are they both just going to play a really strong defensive game? So I think it's so tight to the number here. Wait, definitely to the weather.
Yeah, that's it. All right, Joe. Hashtag Team Jandy, folks. We love having Joe on the program. Let's have you on again real soon. I really appreciate you again. I know you won't be getting sleep today because of all the football, but tonight at some point, take a nap and we'll have you on. But tell people where they can find you because, like I said, love hearing your stuff. Instagram, Twitter, Sports Grid, you're all over.
Andy, if we hit all these dogs, they can find me in Vegas tomorrow because we are flying to Vegas and we're going to go party there. But yeah, you can find me on social media at Joe Madden Sports, and then you can find me on a Sports Grid. I'm live every single Saturday night, but this week coming up, I'm live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday with Thanksgiving, filling in for a couple of people, and then all of my content over on Sports Grid.
Love it. And Joe, look, if you do hit on, I'm in Toronto, so just swing by with the private jet, just pick me up, and then we'll do the loop back to Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to call Bill Belichick and tell him he's got to go down to LA and talk to the Chargers anyway, because I really want Brandon Staley fired after they lose to the Green Bay Packers today. So that will be the trip. We'll come to Toronto, we'll go pick up Bill, and then we'll fly down to LA and up to Vegas. I think it's a plan. Hashtag Team Jandy. Follow her on social media at Joe Madden Sports. Joe, love it. Let's do it again soon. Thank you, Andy. Have a good one today.
You too. There she goes. How about the bold takes by Joe? Holy man. I got to go back and watch the show and make some notes of those because I was losing track of all the hot takes that Joe was giving it. Phenomenal. Tim saying 11 picks for Allen. Yeah, no touch still after 5 seasons. Yeah, I know with Josh Allen. Absolutely. How about this for some Browns news as we polish off the show? It sounds like, folks, Nick Chubb, who remember was injured in the Steelers game week 2. Word is coming from at Tony Grossi, will make his first appearance on the Browns sideline today. Today, Nick Chubb will be in the stadium. He'll be visible to fire up the Browns against the Steelers in a game where Cleveland wins. They're 7-3. They beat the Steelers. You even up the season series in division. You keep pace with the Ratbirds. I cannot wait for this game. Let's hope they can do it. Nick Chubb fire up. Jimmy Donovan is back in the booth too. This is a feel-good day for the Browns in Cleveland. Thanks so much to the guests today. This is a super fun show. Joe Madden bringing the heat. Michael Sicoli as well. And Sammy, producer, everybody there doing a great job. To all of you, make sure you follow notifications on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, hashtag AskAndy for any fantasy football or betting questions. Let's go beat the Squealers, baby. And as always, go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.